For most of human history, you were not alone. Not alone as a species. Not the only humans walking the earth. There were others. Tall ones. Short ones. Stocky, red-haired, thick-browed ones. Tiny island ones, the size of a child. Ghost ones we've never even found a full skeleton of. At one point, at least 9 different kinds of humans shared this planet. 9. And now there's one. US. So the real question isn't where we came from. The real question is what happened to everyone else. Because somewhere between then and now, every other version of human quietly vanished, and we are the lonely survivors of a reunion nobody else came back from. Imagine you could stand on a hilltop 50,000 years ago and look across the valleys of Ice Age Eurasia. To the west, in the cold forests of Europe, you'd see Neanderthals, broad-chedded, pale-skinned, hunting reindeer with thrusting spears. To the east, in the caves of Siberia, you'd see Denisovans, a mysterious people we mostly know from a single pinky bone. On a remote Indonesian island, 3-foot-tall humans called Homo floresiensis hunted dwarf elephants with stone tools. In the jungles of the Philippines, another tiny species, Homo lusonensis, climbed trees with curved fingers. In Africa, small-brained Homo naledi was placing its dead deep inside a pitch-black cave. And among them all, scattered in small bands, were our own ancestors, anatomically modern Homo sapiens. We were not the kings of the planet. We were one option on a crowded menu. Now here's the strange part. Every single one of those other humans is gone. And we don't fully know why. To understand what happened, you have to forget the cartoon version of human evolution. The one where a hunched ape slowly straightens up into a businessman in 5 tidy frames. That picture is a lie. Human evolution wasn't a ladder. It was a tangled bush with branches growing in every direction, most of them dead ends. For millions of years, multiple human species lived at the same time, sometimes side by side, sometimes oceans apart. Our genus Homo has been around for roughly 2.5 million years. Modern humans, the ones reading subtitles on this video, only show up in the last 300,000 of those years. Which means for about 90% of our genus's existence, being human meant something far stranger and more varied than what it means today. So picture the lineup. Homo erectus, the marathon running pioneer, walked out of Africa nearly 2 million years ago. Neanderthals evolved in Europe, built shelters, buried their dead, and made jewelry from eagle talons. Denisovans roamed Asia, from Siberia to the Tibetan Plateau, adapting to thin mountain air long before we got there. Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbit, shrank down on an isolated Indonesian island until adults stood barely a meter tall. Homo naledi, with a brain the size of an orange, practiced ritual-like behavior in the dark heart of a South African cave. These were not failed humans. These were successful humans. Some of them outlasted us in their environments by hundreds of thousands of years. And then, in a relative eye blink of geological time, they were gone. The first big mystery is the Neanderthals. They are the ones we know best. The ones whose skulls fill museum cases and whose DNA still lingers in your body. Yes, your body. If your ancestry traces outside sub-Saharan Africa, roughly 1 to 2% of your genome is Neanderthal. Some of your hair texture, immune responses, even how you process pain, that's Neanderthal code, still running. They lived in Europe for around 400,000 years. They survived multiple ice ages. They were not stupid, hunched cavemen. They were smart, social, tool-making, fire-using, art-making humans with brains slightly larger than ours. And then, around 40,000 years ago, they vanished. Right around the same time we showed up. That timing is the uncomfortable part. For decades, scientists assumed we wiped them out. A prehistoric war between cousins. Modern humans, the new arrivals, outcompeting and possibly slaughtering the old residents of Europe. But the newer evidence is more complicated and, honestly, more haunting. There's no clear archaeological sign of mass conflict. What there is instead is interbreeding. We didn't just meet Neanderthals. We had children with them. Not once, not by accident, but repeatedly over thousands of years, across thousands of miles. The same is true of Denisovans. People living today in Papua New Guinea and parts of Southeast Asia carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA. Tibetans inherited a gene from Denisovans that lets them breathe at high altitude. So when we say these species went extinct, we're using the word loosely. Their bodies are gone. Their bloodlines are not. They live on inside you. Think about that for a second. You are not just the descendant of one kind of human. You are a hybrid, a walking museum of a vanished world. But that still leaves the bigger question. If we got along well enough to have children together, why did only one branch survive? Here's where the theories get fascinating. The first theory is climate. The world between 70,000 and 20,000 years ago was a brutal, swinging mess of ice ages and sudden warmings. Forests turned to tundra in a few generations. Coastlines shifted, prey animals migrated or died off, and entire ecosystems collapsed. Neanderthals, beautifully adapted to cold European forests, may have struggled when those forests changed faster than they could. Small populations and isolated valleys would have been especially fragile. A few bad winters, a failed hunting season, and a band of 30 Neanderthals could simply blink out of existence. Multiply that across a continent and you don't need a war. You just need bad luck and a changing sky. The second theory is competition. We modern humans had a few quiet superpowers. Longer-range weapons like throwing spears and, eventually, the bow. Wider social networks that traded materials and information across hundreds of miles. Possibly more complex language, though that one is fiercely debated. We didn't have to fight Neanderthals to replace them. We just had to be slightly better at finding food in lean years. In ecology, a tiny edge compounds into total dominance over thousands of generations. Imagine two neighboring tribes, one finding 5% more calories per day. Now run that gap for 10,000 years. The math doesn't end with coexistence. It ends with one cousin standing in a cave painting, the other from memory. The third theory is the strangest and maybe the most likely. It's not climate or competition alone. It's something biologists call assimilation. The other humans didn't disappear so much as get absorbed. Their small populations interbred with our larger, faster-growing one until their distinct features were diluted into the bigger gene pool. Picture a few thousand Neanderthals meeting a wave of tens of thousands of modern humans pouring in from Africa. Within a few generations, pure Neanderthal traits would become rarer. Within a few thousand years, they'd be a whisper. A brow shape here, a gene there, a strand of DNA in someone in Madrid in the year 2026. Extinction by hug, not by sword. It probably wasn't any single theory. It was all of them at once. Climate cracked the foundations. Competition tipped the balance. Interbreeding finished the blend. And the smaller, more isolated the population, the faster it slipped under the waterline. Now here's the part that should make the hair on your neck stand up. This same story played out in different forms all over the world. In Indonesia, Homo floresiensis, the tiny hobbit humans, survived on their island for hundreds of thousands of years, hunting, making tools, surviving volcanic eruptions. They disappear from the fossil record around 50,000 years ago, right around the time modern humans reached the region. In the Philippines, Homo luzonensis vanishes in the same suspicious window. In Siberia and across Asia, Denisovans fade out by roughly 30,000 years ago. Homo erectus, the great survivor, the longest-running human species in history, holds on in Southeast Asia until around 100,000 years ago, then vanishes too. One by one, across every continent we entered, the other humans went quiet. By about 10,000 years ago, the planet held exactly one species of human. For the first time in millions of years, there were no cousins left to meet. We had the world entirely to ourselves. Quick pause. I'm genuinely curious about this one, and the comments on this video are usually the best part. If you could meet one extinct human species, just for an afternoon, who would you pick? A Neanderthal sitting by a fire in Ice Age France? A Denisovan looking out over the Tibetan plateau? One of the tiny hobbits of Flores? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them, and the choices people make say a lot about what we secretly miss about not being alone. Okay, back to the strangest part. Because once you understand that we used to share the planet with other humans, a quiet, unsettling thought starts to creep in. What is it actually like to be the only one left? For almost all of human existence, the word human did not mean just us. It meant a category with many members. Different sizes, different shapes, different minds, all recognizably people. Then we became the last ones in the room. And we have been the last ones in the room for so long that we forgot the room used to be crowded. We tell ourselves that being human is one specific thing, our face, our brain, our way of living. But the fossils say otherwise. Being human used to be a range of options. It used to be a conversation. Now it's a monologue. And some scientists wonder if part of our strange loneliness as a species, our endless search for intelligent life on other planets, our obsession with talking animals and AI and aliens, is the echo of a missing conversation. We are looking for cousins because deep down we remember having some. The fossils we keep digging up are not just bones. They're family photos. And we are the only one in the frame still standing. So what really happened to the other human species? The honest answer is all of it. Some froze. Some starved. Some were outcompeted by faster breeding newcomers. Some had children with us until their distinct lineage dissolved into ours. Some were probably killed, somewhere, sometime, in skirmishes we'll never find evidence of. But mostly, they faded. Quietly. Generation by generation, valley by valley, century by century. Not in a single dramatic extinction event, but in a long, slow handing off of the world to one branch of the family. The branch that just happened to include you. So tonight, when you look in the mirror and see your face, remember this. That face is not the face of humanity. It's the face of the one human species that made it. The other versions are still inside you, in your DNA, in a hint of cheekbone, in the way your immune system fights a virus. You are the last chapter of a story with many lost characters. And every breath you take is, in a small way, a memorial to the cousins who didn't make it. If this rewired the way you think about being human, hit that like button. It genuinely helps Hominin reach people who'd love this stuff too. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, where we dig into the weirder, deeper corners of who we used to be. And in the comments, tell me, does the idea of having lost cousins out there make you feel more alone as a species, or more connected? I'll see you in the next one. Because the story of the other humans isn't really over. It's still walking around, inside us.